welcome to my channel. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. And today is another Vlogmas day for me. And I am debating on whether or not to actually do a walkthrough today because I'm just out, getting some things done, and I got a bit of a late start today, so I don't want to do a walkthrough at night. In case you haven't noticed, it makes the lighting very complicated, and I want to wait for another day to do another walkthrough. But anyway, I am on my way to drop these off, and I'm in a mood for a coffee. Well, I think, you know what, I could do with a bit of a change. So, hang on. Well, guys, here we are. I'm ready to try for the very first time the sugar cookie oat latte from Starbucks. And in case you haven't noticed, up until lately, it hasn't been very cold at all. It's been about 5-10 degrees, but today is just a little above freezing. So this is definitely gonna hit the spot. Here we go. Oh, I really love that. This is a blonde espresso. And I used to drink 5 cappuccini every day when I was in Italy, and I used to start off in the morning and just continue throughout the day. And this does have a faint flavor of gingerbread, just a little bit. It definitely has that cookie flavor, which I absolutely love. And it reminds me of one of my late mother's cookie recipes for Christmas. And I'm going to be trying to revive that in another Vlogmas episode. And last year they turned out way too hard. They were good, but way too hard. So I need to work on that. But anyway, this is absolutely delicious. And my take on the sugar cookie oat latte, 10 out of 10. And so I thought I would take some time out today to finish the first part of our story of the Rachel Charles abduction and murder. And I'm sorry to use that word in a Vlogmas episode, but that is what it is. And Many of you might be wondering exactly why I'm reviewing this case. Well, I've been trying to relay the message that our prime suspect, or at least he was the prime suspect in the Madeline McCann abduction, um, has been very significantly linked, allegedly, to these other missing children cases. And so it's important that we examine all the circumstances surrounding at least the abductions in Portugal. Like that, we have a very good indication of what exactly is that swarming started again. What exactly is going down in all of these scenarios behind the scenes? And I'll catch up with you a bit later. And so, time is marching on, and I am not only am I on a time crunch with Vlogmas, but I'm also trying to beat the clock and give you all the reviews that I can possibly think of before the prime suspect's upcoming trial in February for unrelated crimes that really don't have anything to do with an abduction or uh, a murder or anything like that. It's just pure and simple criminal behavior that needs to be dealt with and addressed properly by a jury in court and a judge. And so I think that is coming up in February. But the Madeline McCann case with the prime suspect as the accused is kind of lagging its feet. It's fallen apart a bit, and I believe that if there is any other evidence, we'll soon find out if and when the upcoming trial will actually occur. So, as for Madeline McCann, I'm not sure that that's going to happen anytime soon. I'm not sure at all what's going on with that. And so last time I introduced you to the context of Portugal in the 90s, which had become a very corrupt and vile place to raise a family, to run a business, to have a decent life. And because of the tourism that flourished after the 90s, um, you know, the entire travel scene and resort areas became infested with all of these criminal groups that had their eyes open to trying to empty the pockets of innocent and hardworking people all around, whether they be tourists or longtime Portuguese citizens. And these gangsters came from all walks of life. They came from Britain, they came from Spain, they came from goodness knows where else. But I would say that European businessmen had their hand in this criminal agenda as well. So I also introduced you to a character named Mick Cook, who was ultimately, I'll get into that later, arrested for what happened to Rachel Charles. Now, to validate my claims that Valle Nobio was indeed a corrupt area, a retired teacher by the name of Tony Madden uh, actually himself missed death by about 12 centimeters when a criminal gangster fired two steel balls, which can be ultimately regarded as bullets, right at him as he drove out of the Valle Novio complex one evening. And so I believe that would have been probably around 6 months before Rachel went missing, or at least sometime around then. And so he had been there at the complex to organize a meeting for timeshares. So not only did we have this corrupt and organized group of criminals coming to take money off people uh, illegally, we also had the other side that didn't want the timeshare. Oh, God, guys. And I know that every tourist area has this. And they try to take it out on tourists. Well, tourists have nothing to do with it. Tourists become victims of attack by people who are warring from one side to another. And I believe essentially, narcotics is a big part of that war. One has it, one is trying to take it away. And it should be taken away ultimately. But it's a tool, it's a weapon, like children are, right? So yeah, it's very corrupt. And so that's what Tony Madden was doing when somebody attacked him and tried to take his life. And so he actually was trying to also uh, try to raise awareness for these poor innocent property owners of the timeshares who were probably all foreigners, right? Who gets a timeshare? Not somebody who, most often it's a foreigner that more than a local native, right? So uh, it's chaos, guys. It's chaos, and Portugal is not the only resort area going through this. A great many of these tourist areas are infested with such conflict. And at the heart of it all, at the root of it all, are pawns like drugs and children and innocent, beautiful young women. And women of all ages, too, as we saw in many other cases. Young women are pawns. And so, anyway, he was trying to tell them the truth, something that I'd known, and we talked about this in the last episode, that you don't own over there. You buy, but you never own. The bank owns it. They own you. They own the property. And I think the smarter thing to do would be to get an extended stay at a cheaper rate, like a kitchenette or something, for periods of longer than a 3 or 4 week stay, and go it that way, rather than getting involved in all this intricate mess and crime and being the target of something that you want or know nothing to do with nothing, or want to know nothing about it. You're asking for a lot more than you can actually handle if you go and buy foreign property in another country. Now, mind you, my own experience, and I don't want to turn this into a story time, it taught me that, yeah, when people get sick of you, they can do this to you. So you can go decades and decades living happily on your own property without any abuse or criminal activity around you whatsoever. But one person comes along who gets sick of you and fed up with you, and it just has a penchant for hate and criminal acts that are related to hate. They're going to get you out. They're going to get you out, and it's not a picnic. It is not a picnic, and I don't want to really dwell on that in my own case, but it happened, and it more or less was exacerbated by my split from my ex. And yes, I made sure that I was pretty much divorced before I put my signature on any sold documents because we were afraid that he might make a claim. So we had to quickly sell it. Because over there, once you're married, all the property that your family or your husband or your spouse owns automatically becomes yours, right? So that's an added problem. You guys going to marry and buy land over in other countries, you need to get yourself a good lawyer and some great prenup arrangements because I didn't do that. And my poor mother suffered for all the anxiety that I unwillingly and involuntarily caused her and myself. Not that he did anything. It's just, the way the laws are. He didn't do anything, guys. He didn't do anything. But if there's anybody behind any of these swarmings that often go on around me, I would say that maybe his friends and people that he is connected to may be at the bottom of it, along with other things. I'm not sure. Anyway, so that was a long story, and I want to get through this. So, he wanted to tell these people. Tony Madden wanted to wake them up and alert them. Maybe, say, look, this is what's really going on. Maybe you should just sell, get rid of it, and go somewhere else. Um, so it's kind of he would have really ticked off those gangsters, wouldn't he, who were making money off this sort of tourism. He would have really been under fire for that. And so the bullet holes and the bullets themselves were embedded in the frame of his car door as a souvenir of what could actually happen to him if he took it any further than that. And so, but the police knew who it was. So what did they do? Ah, that's cute. They look cute there. There'll be a nice little souvenir for you to remind you of how proud and strong a group we really are. Of course, I'm being sarcastic. So, anyway, the trouble goes really actually well beyond Valenavio, where little Rachel was raised. And so when tourism opened there in the Algarve, crime kept seeping and slipping in. And so the province does rival Amsterdam as the narcotics gateway to Europe. And so I'm not going to name them, but you can pretty much guess what they are. And guys, I've never ventured there in that area of pleasure. I could never even imagine putting stuff like that in my body. So some of these gangsters made 10 million pounds a day with these sorts of scams and merchandise, which is illegal substances. And so a cash business like tourism proved to be very ideal for quick money and money laundering. And so there you go, guys. Anytime you deal with a dealer, you're dealing with crime itself. You're dealing with abductions, kidnappings, human trafficking, you name it. You want to go there? How can you enjoy yourself doing that stuff, knowing all this? It was black money. And so all kinds of, even though it was and is possible to live very blissfully, peacefully, ignorant of all this and untouched by all of it, yes, it's possible. But would you want to be there? That is the question. In the midst of all this, the blossoming and birth of tourism, the actual ghetto culture was firmly by the 90s, firmly embedded into Portuguese culture. And even Sicilia Mafia showed up there. So everybody was in there for a buck, right? And so who turned up? Well, Mick Cook for one, and the McCanns later on. Innocent British people who had nothing to do with this. And so we'll get a little bit more into this later, but by the time that Mick Cook actually was arrested, it was a relief to everybody. They didn't really stop to consider the fact that he may not be the right person, but and I still don't know. He was then 38 years old and explained, he actually confessed how he abducted her and strangled her in his car when she tried to fight him off. And so, guys, what I think is that after school, she was on her way to a riding lesson in a nearby ranch. And that is when she was abducted. And so she tried to fight him off. And so later on, Cook was indeed convicted of murder and he was sent to prison for 19 years. But as for the actual physical evidence, well, it's not there. However, even though Mick Cook was arrested, even 3 years later, after Rachel's death, the case just kept growing and growing into a big mystery. Nothing was solved. And so that's what I'm saying, guys. When all of these questions go on unanswered, it's very likely that the wrong person is doing the time. Whether or not he was capable of it, I don't know. He was forced to confess, and so for the police, that's good enough. But it's a sick way to run the justice system in any country, let alone a country where innocent people are coming from other countries to vacation. They don't want to be caught up in this. You know what I'm saying? As far as all the people, like the tourists and the British people who live there, and maybe or maybe did not know Mick Cook well enough, it was good enough for them. If the police arrested him, they were happy. They had faith in the police. Well, that kind of police I don't have much faith in. Do you? And so Rachel, it was all the way up to the time that Rachel went missing, before 5 p.m. that afternoon on Monday, November the 19th, 1990, that they had been waiting and hoping that an arrest would be made. And indeed, one did. And so she had been on the bus that afternoon, and she was, that bus was bringing all the Valenavio children back from international school a few miles east along the coast of, oh my God, Vila Moura. And so some mothers who were waiting for the bus in front of the reception center noticed her holding hands with a little girl, and she was walking along, and that is pretty much the last time that she was seen by many of them. And she crossed the road and stopped to touch a little dog. And so I believe that a camera took that footage of her, but she actually crossed the street. She walked to the street holding hands with another child, and then I wonder if there was something in that. Maybe it ticked somebody off, is what I'm trying to say. So by the time she crossed the street, she was alone, And that was basically essentially the last that many people ever saw of her. And so there were a couple of dogs who were barking at that villa gate near where she was supposed to be stopping off for her riding lesson. And that is essentially the last footage that anybody has of her, or the last that any witness had ever seen her. And she had a bright pink school bag on her back, a little backpack, and that was it, guys. She vanished into thin air, and they never saw her again. And so that is now the end of the first part of our story. And so I'm going to stop here and bring you the other two parts on other days. And so thank you very much for listening and watching. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye for now.